Today on the podcast, artistic director Seamus stops by to talk about the Shakespeare in Clark Park world premiere of The Complete Works of Christmas, Abridged, created by Brenna Geffers, starring Amanda Schoonover, on stage through December 29th. Here is my interview with Seamus for The Complete Works of Christmas, Abridged. And welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Darnell Radford, and today I am in the virtual studio, which is where I live, and I'm here to talk with Shakespeare in Clark Park, who has a world premiere Christmas offering called The Complete Works of Christmas, Abridged. And I'm here with Shakespeare in Clark Park's artistic director, Seamus. Seamus.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
It's funny. I see a lot of you. I don't see a lot of you, but I see a lot of you.
Sure. Well, that's the nature of the business, right?
Yes.
It's like, we're over here, like concentrated 2 months together, and then you don't see people for 6 months. And they're like, oh, my dear friend, back in the habit, you know?
Absolutely. How has life been since I saw you in the summer?
Oh, real good. I mean, this has sort of been our big thing. You know, at the end of the summer, we had just finished up our free Shakespeare in the Park programming, which is really exciting. And now we're trying something totally different with this new holiday show.
Cool. So it's called The Complete Works of Christmas, Abridged, and it was created by Brenna Geffers. So tell me the origins of this piece.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, for those, listeners who were unfamiliar with it, The Complete Works of Shakespeare Abridged is sort of this iconic show that was created by three creators and ran in the West End for a very long time, where they basically mashed up all of Shakespeare's canon into an hour and a half, 2 hour sort of play that explored what happens if you try to do them all at once in quick succession. And within that, they also are like poke fun at them. They find the holes in them. They talk about what does and doesn't read to a contemporary audience anymore, sort of into this like laugh riot experience. And that's a show that I actually got to direct in New York back at the end of the summer, I guess early fall. So it was really neat to get back in touch with that spirit sort of making. And then locally, Casey McMillan and Jessica Bedford and Charlotte Northeast and Megan Winch collaborated on The Complete Works of Jane Austen Abridged, which I think took a similar vein. Well, it did. I mean, so it took a similar vein of taking many Jane Austen pieces and kind of mashing them all together into a hilarious little treat. So that's sort of the impetus for the spirit of the show. We were like, how do we take pieces that are in conversation, that have a long history, a lot of tradition to them, and kind of remix them for a contemporary audience, which is Clark Park is always trying to do now. That's really sort of at the heart of the next age of the organization.
Yeah. So there's, I don't have an official idea, but I assume that the Christmas canon is pretty large. What do you think about, there's so many people who when they look at me and they're like, oh, Emmett Otter, or the Grinch or Charlie Brown Christmas. But then there's timeless classics like It's a Wonderful Life, that are still kicking around.
Absolutely. Every script that you've mentioned so far is mentioned
great.
Cool. On track. Yeah. It's, Christmas, there's so many stories, right? We take from both the, as a culture and a community, right? There's the biblical parts of Christmas history and Christmas stories. And then there's the secular ones, right? And so the show, I think, focuses more on the secular pieces. For me personally, I went to a holiday show with my parents in Lancaster, which is kind of small town Pennsylvania, and we're watching, and it was all very secular. They're singing fun songs and doing a little dance number. Everyone's dressed like a little, like Santa-et, sort of a thing. And then all of a sudden, they just broke into this moment. They're like, and of course, the most important part of Christmas is Jesus. And I was like, oh right, that's the audience for these people.
Yeah.
So I think in some ways we are trying to create something that gives those same vibes of you can bring everybody. Everyone's got something that they relate to from the very wide canon of Christmas stories. But it's a little bit less heavy-handed, the story of Jesus sort of thing. Brings up, Christmas is the day as opposed to the actual birth of Jesus, the history of a pagan holiday that was then sort of repurposed, reclaimed, whatever you want to call it, co-opted maybe. But yeah, so it's a massive canon. I mean, there's literally over 100 film adaptations of A Christmas Carol, I think. And we, try to bring up as many of them as we can. But that's definitely been a fun part of the piece, and watching the piece continue to develop in the room, finding which things are resonant for people, if you do an Emmett Otter reference, which I will always get, if you sing a little, well, there ain't no hole in a wash tub, you get some people with that. Oh, the dog. The
jingle bells we need.
Yeah, right, exactly. Or, so, it's a mix of, it's a lot of movies that we talk about. It's a lot of like songs and carols we talk about. And then we also get into like iconic Christmas specials, it's like the Judy Garland night. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't even know I was getting emails. The Judy Garland, iconic Christmas special, which happened right after, the assassination of JFK, and sort of looking at where these fit into an overall, I don't know, quilt. I was like, quilt of sort of like American traditions and things that we consume around Christmas.
Yeah. There's a quick thing I saw the other day, and it made me laugh for too long. So the series Family Guy, they always have these cutaways, and so there was one about Christmas where they cut away, and it's Jesus getting gifts from the three wise men.
Yes.
And so he says, "What is this?" He's like, "It's myrrh." And he says, "Oh, so this ruins my Christmas and my birthday." Silly.
I love that's a complex thing. As someone, my birthday happens to be 3 days after Christmas. It's right in that like in between week. So that's always a question. People are always like, "Oh no, does Christmas co-opt your birthday?" And my family is always good at making them two separate things. But, it's an easy thing to do, I think, for those December birthdays.
Yeah. So how did you whittle it down to the complete works, and how many stories are being told?
Oh man, that's a great question. How many stories are being told? I'd have to go back and clock it. But I'm going to say we explore in depth around 10, but then there's many, many more referenced, satirized, brought up, commented on, so it's, and the depth of them sort of varies, right? We have a long piece of the show that's about this like kind of obscure Disney movie called The Small One, that's all about a donkey who, sort of the twist of the movie is that it ends up being the donkey from like the nativity scene, right? So this is the donkey that Joseph claims and then puts pregnant Mary on the back of, and they kind of ride off to, the major to make that, that iconic journey. And there's other ones that we'd like do a quick allusion, right? There's like times it's like, oh, and this is like the best holiday movie for kids was blank, don't want to give it all away. List of honorable mentions.
I was thinking about, with all these, there's so many ways to like have an overload of Christmas.
Sure.
Like when you think about music too, I was like, thinking about complete works Abridged, like there's so many Christmas songs that, could be a similar event, or like a mixtape to go along with it. I think pre-show music, like a Christmas mixtape.
And that's, we use carols as a way to sort of help kind of like cram in some of the things. For example, something that's really cool about the show is the actor who is it's a solo show. So the actor on stage, Amanda Schoonover, who is incredible, was in a holiday movie called Candy Cane Lane with Eddie Murphy that came last year. And the premise of that is literally the 12 days of Christmas, like come to life. And so in ours, we use that song as a way to tell the story of that movie with, enhanced lyrics, if you will, right? So there's definitely this game of how do we cram them in, of like the whittling down of it all. But, in different drafts, it's changed and grown, right? It was like, oh, great bit about the Santa Claus with Tim Allen. It's like, oh, no, it doesn't fit this version anymore, so it kind of hits the cutting room. And other ones get sort of osmosed into a compost heap of references and moments.
Yeah. Well, this will be like an interesting test for your brain. If you could think about, I guess maybe think about like every 10 years of your life, and think about which Christmas movies resonated with you at 10, at 20, at 30. What are they?
Yeah. I would say at 30, I'll go backwards. At 30, like Emmett Otter's really up there, right? One, because it's like I have a different grown-up appreciation for puppets, and the incredible work happens in that film. And just sort of the nature of like, doing the best you can with what you have to create Christmas, as opposed to feeling, a need to have everything be the perfect commercial sort of biggest budget item,
Yeah.
I think when I was a young person, I would watch those commercials where somebody buys a car for their their spouse or their loved one on Christmas. I was like, oh, that's what Christmas looks like. That's what love looks like. I've never gotten a car for Christmas. But now I think I'm a little more into it. Of the humble, the thing you think of that the other person needs, but might not even know what they need.
Mm-hmm.
In my 20s, it's probably whatever Christmas game you could play the most drinking games with, right? Have you ever played that game where you put a Santa hat on the corner of a TV, and anytime the shot lines up, so it's the person's wearing the hat you drank?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a lot because there's certain rules to films, like having someone's head on the side of the screen, sort of
yeah.
So I used to play that game with Elf a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Classic, Will Ferrell, Zooey Deschanel, Peter Dinklage, John. So that's definitely up there for me.
Yeah.
And as a wee one, it might not even have been a movie. I think it was the Rugrats Christmas special, the first, where they do a gift to the Magi thing, and Angelica gets Phil and Lil to give her there's a Reptar space helmet and crayons, and so and they give up their Reptar doll and the coloring book, respectively, and then at the end of it, Angelica's heart melts, and she gives them back their toy, so they get to have the thing work together. But that's always really resonated with me.
Nice. So I can think of in high school, I remember we produced Gift of the Magi,
sure,
and A Christmas Carol, of course. But Gift of the Magi, I've seen many iterations of it over the years. Even they don't call it, but it
sure.
has the vague sort of connotation. I'm gonna sacrifice my most prized possession to get you a gift that matters, and your partner's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And so those are always cute moments because they remind you of, what the season is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about, taking this time at the end of the year to acknowledge the people that matter to you. Also the religious connotation too, but more the commercial sort of societal kind of view of it.
Yeah.
It's about holding the people you love close.
Yeah. It's a great excuse to show people you love them, whatever that means, and sometimes that's food, sometimes that's time, sometimes that's, a physical something.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you. I also I'm getting to that age where I have too much crap, anytime I have to move or do anything, I'm what do I have this for? What is, you know what I mean? So I'm oh, you want to make me dinner? Great. Because I'm at making dinner.
Yes. Cool. So the Hallmark Channel.
Yes.
Let's talk about it.
What do you want to talk about?
So I feel like the Hallmark Channel is for a quintessential type of mom.
Uh-huh.
And I know that the past year or so, maybe within the past couple of years, Hallmark Channel made its first gay movie, or gay themed movie. I forget the name, and I'm always trying to find it, but I don't want to spend too much time on the Hallmark Channel. For me, I don't know. I just feel like I'll get swept up in it. It's easy if it's just playing in the background. You end up hooked on it. There's these stereotypical storylines. It's I'm a busy city girl trying to make my way, and this random guy comes from out of town and kind of throw me off my balance.
Yeah. We do one of those in the show, so if anybody is in that's a beautiful section of the show that Amanda does beautifully.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm here for it, right? I'm not sure if this is the specific one, but I still love Jonathan Bennett, who was an actor.
Mm-hmm. I think he was in it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think it's Vincent Rodriguez Jr. from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
And
I'm oh my God, I'm just so excited these two, gay men get to do this thing, because if straight people get to have it, why can't we? And my question is who's getting paid, So it's great. If we're gonna, because they make a lot of money on these movies, right? That's why they produce so many of them, right? And so it's I think it is my understanding that this channel is making us maybe second most in ad revenue, and they're on Home and Gardens sort of, and so it's great. Well, then if we can put big money behind Lacey Chabert and random dude number 5 from a soap opera, do the same thing to to the gays.
Absolutely. It has been home for I don't know what level celebrity to call them, but I guess like TV celebrities that they have sort of a nostalgic kind of draw to them.
Yeah.
Whether they are problematic now in life or
You're talking about Lori Loughlin right there?
Lori or Candace.
Just can't remember, right? That's such a complex one too,
Yeah.
right? Oh, I just got like really deep into my religion zone. I was like, oh, okay, well, you know, I want to hold space for that and honor that for you, but also like, don't proselytize me, bro. You know?
Yeah. It's like, just stick to the script, read the lines. There's also, since we're talking about, gay themed Christmas in the space that they're not traditionally in.
Yeah.
I think Netflix did a film of their own called Single All the Way.
Is that the Michael Urie one?
Yeah, with Michael Urie. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Surprisingly adorable. It's like, okay.
My only question mark about that was the love interest, who I think was also his friend, and they like discovered they were love interests later. And the fact that he was like a TaskRabbit person, that was like his job, was he was like on Rabbit or like their in-world app of that. And he was like still working on Christmas. And I was like, oh, this seems a little absurd to me that you're still doing TaskRabbit on Christmas. But
yeah,
I don't know. You know, it's a competitive market. I get it.
It's like the theater artist in us is like, gosh, unpack that. What's the backstory? Why do you still have to work during Christmas? And why are you picking up jobs on this supposed 10-day vacation?
Right. I mean, we are, right? So like we perform on the 23rd, take a couple days off and come back.
Oh my God. You have no idea. Over the years, I've said, okay, so why can't we do a show on the 25th? Like, what's the conflict on that day?
Oh, sure. I turned 21 doing a production of A Christmas Carol. The show closed that night, and then we all like went out, you know, for drink, etc. But we were all still like very Dickensian in style. So like my 21st birthday, I had wild mutton chops. And it was like me and a bunch of people who I like still know, and we're all, you know, we're not 21 anymore. And it's so funny to think about this literal disposable camera that we use to take these photos. And I'm sure everyone at this small town bar was just like, who are these people? Why are they dressed like these bizarre things? But, you know.
Yeah.
That's like holiday work. Got to take it.
I also know that over the years, particularly in our community, a handful of theater companies have sort of glommed onto a one-person Christmas show that ends up being such a hit that they end up coming back every year.
Yeah.
Remember the company Flashpoint Theater Company has been around, who was around years ago, would always do the David Sedaris piece.
Yeah, Santaland Diaries, for sure.
Santaland Diaries. And I think they also, I don't know if they also did Christmas on Ice, or it was always two.
Yeah, so I think
Christmas on Ice is the collection.
I used to work there at this point, like when they were doing. Yeah, so Santaland Diaries was like their annual tradition. And that's like definitely the spirit of that show is definitely inspiration for the piece that we did, right? And sort of looking at like, can you, like, what if we do Santaland and it's not focused on a dude, right?
Yeah.
So, fine, right? And so then eventually what that involved into was a repertory production with what remains in my opinion, as like one of the strongest holiday shows I have ever enjoyed, created by Megan Williams and Gigi Naglak. It was called Chlamydia for Christmas, Herpes Hanukkah, More Sex Ed Burlesque, to Chlamydia del Arte, which was their like variety show. And and they literally did a parody of those, like, you know, those CD commercials that used to come on that were like, 24, right? So they did one, and I think about it almost every day while working on this. So shout out to Meg and Gigi. Called Dildo Holiday Classics. They remixed, or not even, they like gave like little like 13-second kind of samples of various Christmas songs, but put the word dildo in them. So it was like literally Dildo Holiday Classics. We wish you a merry dildo. And I was like, this is brilliant. This is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. And it still ranks up.
I just want to apologize to the Broad Street Review listeners who may be shocked at our dialogue right now. This is a long-form podcast. Anything can be said here.
You can bio. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Absolutely. No, I'm just playing. But yeah, there's just so there's just so much and it's interesting about December, especially as theater artists. This is the time of year where you have like a very short window before you lose everyone's attention.
Sure.
You know, I would just assume it's probably like halfway through the month of December is when people start waning, because like, I'm going to a show on the 23rd. I'm what? Might be hard to do. But it doesn't stop us from trying to bring a little joy into the space.
Oh, totally.
Anything
you know, we get to have, or a lot of people, I'm not going to say we, because, you know, obviously everyone's schedule is different, but a lot of people, you know, you end up in town with family for the holidays. And after like 3-4 days of just like home at home time, you know, an hour long, a 90-minute long sort of excursion of seeing something like fun and that everyone can relate to, I think it's a really nice sort of gift. And it's funny, you know, because I feel the same way. I was a little bit like, oh man, like with the holiday itself, how close we want to be to it. But we're actually doing our show in rep with another one-person show, One Man Cracker, right? Created by Chris Davis. And so that's really exciting. And he has historically found a ton of success with the show, particularly right around the holiday. So, you know, we'll see. We'll kind of see where it all lands. But like you said, it's like the goal is to like have the show happen and be successful, you know, and have people enjoy it. But I think the larger goal is to have something that can be part of this Philly tradition of alternative takes for people that don't want to go to the Rockettes or to see, you know, the Balanchine Nutcracker again, you know, whatever it may be, instead of giving people something a little bit more indie to check out and hopefully bring it back. You know, we love Amanda, we love Brenna at SCP, you know, and if we could keep their voices raised up and entertain people for a couple of years, that'd be awesome.
I also think it's interesting that there's so many American Christmas films, because Christmas is arguably a German holiday.
Sure.
Yeah, and even now downtown we have Christmas Village, which is like import. Kind of the concept is an import from Germany.
Yeah. I mean, the huts are like very import, right? It's like supposed to harken back to, it's like, oh, look, it's Bavarian town we've stumbled upon. Oh, and there's ice skating and a Ferris wheel. What a weird thing.
It's the only time I buy hanging meats.
Oh, sure. Hanging meats. It's a great thing to get.
Yeah,
it's fun. I mean, you know, shocking that Americans would want to take something from another culture and call it our own. You know, certainly. That. Have you had like a Christmas tradition or a thing that you did, let's say before 2020 that you don't do anymore, or that you'd want to get back to? Oh yeah, I mean, something I was really debating about this year. This is like something that I grew up with, was like an advent calendar. We had like an advent stocking, so it's just like a very miniature stocking, and it would, you know, have a little treat or a little toy in it. And then, you know, I grew up, so for a while, my mom would like send them to me. She would send me like a bag of like 20 small presents, you know, and be like, you know, open one a day, and that never worked. You know, I was like, what are they? Candy? Where is it? And so I think finding my way back into that in a more meaningful way would be nice. Last year, I got myself a Super Mario advent calendar.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which was fun, but it was like all very prefab, you know, and I've got these like 20 little figurines from Mario that I'm like, okay, I still have them. Are they my holiday decorations now? You know, that's figure out what my next sort of take on an advent calendar is, for sure.
Yeah. I feel like the most collectible themed item for Christmas has to be the ornaments.
Oh, sure.
It's easier to have more ornaments than why do you have 9 trees in your house? They're different sizes. It's just easier to do that. So I feel like we are unconsciously shopping for ornaments year round.
Yeah.
Like when we travel, like if we travel to another city, we're definitely picking up an ornament.
Yeah.
When we go to Comic-Con, actually Hallmark has a kiosk there where they have all kinds of exclusives.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
And so there's always ornaments. So we have like Doctor Who ornaments, like Marvel ornaments. These things are, it's interesting because it's very pop culture. It's hard to look at these and be like, how is this a keepsake? Why did you need a Wolverine?
One
ornament.
Wolverine ornament.
Yeah.
I mean, so right, there's something neat about ornaments because it's like there's something practical about it that you could combine with your nerddom or your fandom or your hobby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like during the shutdown, I started buying pins. I got really into like cool pins of like various things that I'm into. And so after I bought my like third Digimon pin and put it on my backpack and that I wasn't wearing anywhere because I'm stuck at home, I was like, this was a neat way to drown out my sorrows and have something coming in the mail, you know? But then I was like, I don't actually know pins are very practical for me because like, what do I do with them? But an ornament, I'd be like, well, we're going to put it on the tree.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the funny thing about pins, you're supposed to wear them. Like, you know, maybe you have a pin for every day and it's on your shirt or on your jacket or something. But like, I used to put all these pins on my bag, and I'm kind of surprised that no one tapped me and said, we need to have an intervention. Because I just thought, you know, I just want somebody walking behind me to be like, that guy's a nerd and he's cool.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's
you know?
Yeah, right? It's like let your freak flag fly. But I'm always impressed by people that can like wear pins casually, that like have like a jacket and there's like a cluster of pins. We look so cool. If I wore that, I would look like a fool. But it's very real.
It's like grandma and the brooch. And the brooch.
I love a brooch. So you be careful. You say
no brooches.
I love a brooch.
Another, like, because it's the season, so there's a lot of like holiday, and I love animation.
Yeah.
There was I think the last Family Guy episode was about I think like Peter gave Lois his brooch away to his boss or something, and as soon as he gave it to him, she was calling him on the phone, going like, "Where's my brooch?" Like, and it was hidden. It was like hidden in a box in the closet. Like, oh, she'll never miss this. And it turns out to be so important to her that he gave it to his boss. So he had to spend all this time trying to get it back.
Yeah. Which is really kind of interesting too, as like sort of in this like lost thing, you know? Like I literally got into brooches because my grandmother passed away. And so I like inherited a small handful of brooches. And I was like, oh, what an interesting thing for me to like stay connected to her with. But I don't know that, at least the circles I'm in, not a lot of people are buying them now. So it does it creates like history and lineage, you know, it's like a thing was special that you invested in, you know, and like wore for special occasions and then passed down.
Yeah. There's so much of that. So many tangible keepsakes, but now, you know, we are at 2024 and it does feel like technology has pushed us to kind of digitize a lot of the things that we hold dear. And so it's always a great thing to know that people still hold on to things. Like it's actually great when you think about it. We all have something that we're not obsessed with, but like it matters so much to us that we have so many versions of it.
Yeah.
You know, like everybody has a collection of things, and it sometimes seems excessive, but these are the unique things about us. Like you go into somebody's house and they have a scrapbooking room or a crafts room or something. And you're like, that's just me. You know, same thing as like a, you know, gamer cave or something like that. It's like, oh, this is my hobby, but it's like kind of my life too.
Yeah.
All these things. Yeah. Yeah. So because it's December and we're getting close to the reason for the season, what do you want for Christmas?
I want everyone to see the complete works of Christmas. That's what I want for Christmas. Let's see. So I have a dog, and so a lot of things that I'm thinking about for Christmas are like for my dog. So I was like, oh, I got to get a new lick mat for Archer. Cool. What else? I do. I need a new phone. I'm currently rocking like an iPhone 8.
Oh my God!
You know, so it's like
we
really
have to end this podcast right now so we can go get you a new phone.
Like sometimes it'll like stop working for periods of time, and people are like, hear from me for 3 days. I'm like, I know my phone didn't turn on. What am I gonna do? But it's just like sort of this old, I don't know, like it's happened. I let it happen, and here it is. And then there's like some video games I want to play, but you know, like I said, I've got so much stuff.
Yeah,
you know, I'm in the state of like, what am I doing with this? Where am I going to put this? That I don't know. It feels different.
Yeah, I would love to like escape into a video game.
Yeah,
but there's something in me that knows that I should be doing something else. So I can't. I don't get stuck in, but I was actually pretty disciplined about playing video games. I would sit down on the weekend and I'd put like an hour timer on the clock. I'd be like, give me an hour. And so in an hour, it feels like a long time when you set a timer. And if you can beat a level or something, it's worth it. And then at least that way it's a benchmark and you can decide, am I in this for 4 more hours or is this 1 hour satisfactory?
Amazing, your discipline. I recently was replaying there's a remake of this Super Nintendo game that like kind of never really came to the US called Romancing Saga 2. Like a new version of it. And I think I sung like 100 hours into the campaign, and that was like before getting to New Game Plus, and I did like half. So we all have our things, but I'm impressed that you could say no to a video game after an hour.
Yes. So actually, what Shakespeare and Clark Park wants for Christmas is for us to see the complete works of Christmas. Well, it is exciting. As soon as I saw the post about it, and I was like, and Amanda Schoonover is doing it, like that's going to be a lot of fun. It seems like it's an event where there should definitely be beer in the lobby to buy.
Oh, there is beer in the lobby to buy. We also got nog on the stage, right? So a little insider tip: if you come to the show, you might get some nog at the end.
Nice.
But it's super cool, right? So Amanda was a Philly actor for a long time, had this like wonderful, beautiful career, and then started getting film and television work, and like was in LA. And so this is her first time performing in a play in I think 2 years.
Wow.
So we were so lucky and so grateful that she was like excited about the project, and it's always, I think that there can be a pretension around the difference between live performance and recorded performance in such a way that you're always like, oh, like is her energy going to be different? Is it like, what's this going to mean for her to be like stepping into this thing again after having been away from it for a little bit? And we stepped right into it. You know what I mean? Like day 2, I'm falling off my chair laughing at what Amanda's proposing. And her and Brenna make a really great team. This is the second time they've developed a show, like a one person focused show together. And it turns out it's Amanda's, I think, 3rd solo show. So it's very like, oh, I got it. I know how to do this, which is a very cool thing. I don't think that I could ever perform a solo show. Truly, I think, it's an incredible thing to know that you will be everyone's focus for the entire span of time,
Yeah, it's like I always resist the urge, like whenever there's an opportunity to have a talk back for a show, like there's always someone who's like, how did you remember all those lines?
Oh, yeah.
Or how are you able to be on stage this whole time without a break? You never left the stage. And everybody's like, yeah, man, wow. It's like, yeah, it's pacing, it's beats. There's a way to like sort of renew yourself for each scene and so on. But it is a feat. And if they can hold your attention that whole time, I think it is just wonderful. By the end, you're just so satisfied at the fact that they took you on this journey with them and they only needed themselves to engage you, and you walk away from it going like, wow, what a powerhouse. And then you realize, like, especially here in Philadelphia, we have so many amazingly talented artists in our community. There's just not enough stages for all the talent we have to offer here, and it's so great. I know people feel how they feel about one person shows. Some people love them. Some people are like, oh no, like some companies are convinced that they can't consider a one person show a successful show. Yeah. In terms of their like unrealistic goal for a one person show, maybe. But I think those are the ones where it's just like, wow, that one, I want to follow this actor to their next journey, and I want to be there with them. They were able to engage me and tell this story in such a way. It's like, I love that intimacy, because when you're in an ensemble, you're supporting the ensemble. And while there are moments where you can shine, it's still like, you're going to overall say, everybody was great, but this one, it's just them. And you're just like, wow, you did this whole thing.
Yeah, I think you're so right. I think one person shows can have a very, they can get a bad rap. I think there's people that go like, oh man, I had to sit through 25 one-person shows in undergrad because everyone had to do one as part of this class, and that's sort of everyone's like processing their own trauma on stage. It's often, like, can be what it is, I know one of my favorite anecdotes is a friend of mine went to see a one-person show, and it got like, and there was no one else came. They were the only person in the audience, and so it starts, and she's sort of like, all right, well, we're gonna go on this journey together, and it just like got weirder and weirder, and by the end of it, the person was like rubbing condiments all over their body, so like covered in mustard, and my nose was burning from just the smell of mustard, you know. So it was like very, you know, very cringy, very specific sort of a thing. But I think that that's what people imagine when they think of a one-person show.
Yeah.
Or they imagine the classic, like, and then my Aunt Sue was like, hey, Seamus, come on in. Said no, but my Uncle Joey was like, hey, Seamus, you know.
No, they're doing characters.
Yeah. Right. Thankfully, you know,
honestly, if it feels like a train wreck, I think I would love it too.
Sure.
I'd be like, oh my God, this is only going to get worse.
I do love that. I feel like that's how I feel about a lot of Hallmark movies.
Yeah.
They start and they're like, all right, 5 minutes in, the conflict is the greeting card store is going to go out of business if they don't like create the best new card, right? And grandma's sick. So how she write it? What are we going to do? And like, oh, we got to call Jonathan back from his cutting edge job in graphic design. You know, he gets the call and he's like, no, Mom, I got to.
He doesn't have time for this.
You know, once that setup happens, I'm like, oh, well, I'm here for it. I got to see how much higher they can make these stakes get because they've just begun.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, the place where they get the card stock from is on fire. And you're like, oh, you have a baby from the fire. You're like, why was a baby?
What else could go wrong? And then Santa actually shows up.
Oh, no, I love that. You know, in classic like rules from the Narnia franchise, where it's like, yeah, and then Santa can show up, right?
Featured actor, of course.
Yeah. You know, it's like Ed Helms, Santa, always.
I think we should write for Hallmark.
I mean, you know somebody. I do need money, so
we could put it together. It's funny how, you know, we can poke fun at how those stories are silly, but they're camp in a way that's like they're gonna tug at your heartstrings. I've definitely seen a lot of shows where I started at the beginning and I'm like, I don't know about this, and then at the end you're like, I see why they greenlit it. Okay, I'm gonna give you that.
Like, you know, you gotta please a certain number of people. I don't know if you follow this, Lanish Miller-White.
Yes,
has this series that she's been putting out of her like looking at the box art for holiday movies and then just guessing the plot. Yeah. And then she checks how right she is, and she's right way more than she should be. Yeah, you know what I mean? Just talking about like the formula of sort of. And she's like, oh well, I said Chicago, and it turns out it was in L.A. But like besides that, she gets. She just did a review on Hot Frosty. I saw that. Yeah. I was like, oh, I got to watch Hot Frosty now, which is a lazy Chabert vehicle. Of course, Family Guy, right? Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it is hilarious. Like, well, if you have a list of Hallmark Channel movies that are like must sees, you should post them on the website so that people can chime in, or. You know, if there's a way to ping the audience for what their favorites are, I think that would be an interesting, fun list. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, we've got a bunch of like pre-show activities and events happening, right? So like that's definitely the space for that. You know, I think a wall of your favorite holiday movie is a great idea. But we're also doing like a night where you come early and you can sing carols together. You know, oh, that's cool. Going, yeah. I was trying to think, like, no one knocks on your door and just is a group of carolers anymore. Those are like some things that used to happen that don't happen anymore. No, I think you have to like, well, I guess what you can do is you can like pay people, right? I know people that put on old timey garb and thing, but they're like singers, you know, it's not just like me and my dog showing up and being like, Christmas Carol, we only know some of the words. Yeah. Right? It's like, la 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 la. You point at your dog. Right. Woo! Yeah. And go, well, great. Brilliant. Right. Here's a few coins. That's right. Put out your hat. So earlier we were talking about advent calendars and so on, and I was thinking about those other things like a Secret Santa and a Pollyanna. Are those still things that you participate in? I would. Why? I mean, at one of these parties? No, totally. I love that kind of stuff. Yeah, I feel like, you know, if you're not planning to come to a space to have a gathering, they're hard to coordinate. Yeah. I mean, it's like office party culture, right? Yeah. And I feel like those things are, I mean,
I love the companies that still have that kind of connection, but I feel like there's so many politics tied to everything that the mindset in offices, they don't have those things anymore. Like the Pollyanna or the Secret Santa, or maybe you just don't have enough consistent staff to pull it off. But
I mean, how many people go to an office anymore? And don't get me wrong, I'm sure many do, but like most people I know, if they go to an office, it's like sometimes. It's not like every time,
It's commuter. Like you're there to do something or attend a meeting and then you're gone. Yeah. Oh, so I wanted to ask, I should have asked it earlier, sorry. Set the scene for the complete works of Christmas. Like when we get into the space, what is the experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking that. So the proposal for this show is that Amanda's character, who we lovingly call Lady, is alone on Christmas, right? And that her partner has gone off to his family's thing, and she was invited, of course, but she chose not to go. And you kind of like explore more of that as the piece goes on. And she's like, all right, I'm just have a great Christmas by myself. And she starts watching stuff. So it's like sort of like a mashup between binge drinking and binge watching as a solo person on Christmas morning. And so that's sort of the setup of it. So it's like, it's very much a living room setup where she sort of imagines this world of like holiday special or anything else that she sort of like invokes from these movies or recreates from these stories.
Yeah. There was something. Oh, so the other thing about Christmas, or really it's just this time of year, is that they start marathoning everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's when you can watch A Christmas Story all day. That's like one of the main ones. But are there any like marathons that you look forward to at this time of year?
Oh yeah, I mean, there are some like television shows from my youth that had like an annual Christmas episode that I will definitely watch in quick succession. So like, I have not watched a new episode of South Park in probably 10 years. But on Christmas, if you were like, oh, we're going to go through all the South Park Christmas episodes, I would definitely watch that for nostalgia. I'd probably, a time or two. But that's like definitely something I would sit through and watch. Trying to think what else as far as that world of things. It's funny that you bring this up, these marathon moments. Something that I learned from the script, that Brenna ultimately taught me, is that It's a Wonderful Life is public domain and has always been public domain because an intern didn't like properly file the copyright. And that's available everywhere. And that's like why it was one of the early ones that you could just like watch all day.
Oh, wow.
No, right?
Didn't know that.
Me neither. And it kind of makes sense, right? Because when you think about it, it's like, it has Christmas in it, right? I've been in the show, like it's, but it's not like super uplifting, right? The proposal is a place of like self-harm is sort of how it starts, and then it's like, oh no, but like, look, life can be better. I don't know. So it's just a kind of interesting, take on Christmas stories because we normally start from a brighter place of some kind.
My first show in this community, as a stage manager was It's a Wonderful Life at Plays and Players.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and I remember doing that. I think at the time the Eagles were doing pretty well, so behind the scenes, it seemed like all the men, but it was like most of the cast were backstage huddled around a TV trying to watch it. It was so I think our run was long. Like we closed on January 6th, I think.
Oh wow.
And so they were so comfortable by that time that they were able to watch football game and then get in time for their scene. But I just remember the everything that went on behind the scenes. It made it a lot of fun. Yeah. I think also any holiday play or musical that has a large cast that just seems like it would be such a fun experience to be a part of.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's something about like the time of year that we associate so much with like family or close friends that like you either kind of buy into that for that time, right? And you're like, all right, well, this is what I'm spending the holidays with, whether or not I choose to, right? Which can also be true of family.
Yeah.
Or you go the exact opposite and you're the person that shows up and does your job and you go, okay, great, 5:00, goodbye, everyone. I will not be at the drinks. I will not be at the party, right? It's totally fair. But I feel you that there's a uniqueness to shows that are around sort of big holidays because you're like, oh, I'm spending this time with these people.
Yeah. So tell our listeners how they can experience this piece and support Shakespeare in Clark Park.
Absolutely. Thank you, Darnell. So, the complete works of Christmas Abridged will be running December 12th through the 29th. It's only 9 performances over that span of time. You can get tickets on our website, shakespeareinclarkpark.org. So that's going to be the easiest way to do it. And for our people listening, if you use the code NUTMEG, we'll give you a sweet little discount. So you can use that when you check out and then come see the show. You can buy tickets ahead of time, ideally, right? Perfect. Or try your luck at the door. Though I will say opening, I think we have 5 tickets left. And because there's only the 9 performances, I wouldn't be shocked if we sell out a solid chunk of them.
Oh, great. I will put that code in the show notes. Good luck, everybody.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on this. Get your tickets. And buy a couple of tickets because theater is more fun with a +1.
Absolutely.
I always say that. Yeah, Seamus, thank you for coming to the virtual studio to talk about Shakespeare in Clark Park's The Complete Works of Christmas Abridged by Brenna Geffers, performed by Amanda Schoonover. It's going to be a lot of fun because they're just wonderful people. You guys are all wonderful. This is going to be fun.
Oh.
And it's in the same space with One Man Nutcracker.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Check them out.
Yeah, so see them both. They're going to be great. And these are great ways to sort of ring in the holiday season and give you the warm and fuzzies. So get a drink in the lobby and join them in the theater. Shakespeare in Clark Park. Seamus, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me about this world premiere. It's going to be exciting. And I really hope to see it like 10 years from now, still kicking and still very fun and engaging.
Me too.
All right. Thanks again. It was truly a pleasure. Thank you to our guest, Seamus of Shakespeare in Clark Park, for joining us on today's podcast. The Broad Street Review podcast is an Emory production. If you would like to be a guest on the podcast, visit us online at em3ry.com. Get involved with Broad Street Review. Head on over to our website at www.broadstreetreview.com and click Get Involved at the top. While you're there, help keep us running and click Donate to find out how. There you can also find our social media links. Thank you for your part in keeping the conversation going.